Hello and welcome to the Chicory's maintenance video series. This week we're changing the vent hoses, actually adding a vent hose to the forward head. So I'm going to flip around the screen here and show you exactly what we're doing. Should be pretty straightforward. So I've removed the toilet because I don't think you needed to see that. But this is the plate for the waste tank. Here's where the waste comes from the toilet. This is the overboard discharge suction line. This is the pump out suction line, and this is the vent line. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but there is a really sharp 90-degree angle where this comes out. And this elbow keeps unplugging on me. Even though the tank doesn't get completely full, I don't know what exactly is going on. Maybe it's just splashing around, but the vent hose is not working very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to progressively drill larger, a hole either here or here, and then I have a tap for a 3/4 inch pipe thread, and I'm going to put in a secondary vent line, 3/4 inch, with a much smoother 90-degree curve, or might even be straight with just the hose curve, which might be beneficial. I just have to see what fits. But the first thing I need to do is drill these holes and tap it, and then I'll have a better idea what's going on. In addition to that, I'm going to add a tank monitoring system. I have an NMEA 2000 network cable here already run, so I haven't decided exactly what kind of monitoring system I'm going to use yet, but that decision will have to be made pretty quickly so that I can install it while I have everything apart. I will show you when I am done drilling and tapping. So I have the hole drilled, which was a massive feat. This stainless steel is so hard, it's unbelievable. But now I'm getting ready to tap. I'm just going to spray some lube on there and put a socket on the driving end of that tap and start tapping. Be back in a minute. After much effort, I have a tapped hole. So now it's inserting the fitting. But before I do that, I need to take off this fitting because I want to remove the reducer that's there. So that's my next step. If I look a little dejected, there's a reason for it. So I took the fitting off from the toilet to the holding tank. And because it's 1.5 inches, it really gives me a great opportunity to look down there with a flashlight. And where I'm sitting right now is where the bow thruster is, and in front of the bow thruster is the holding tank. So I have a good idea of how deep the holding tank is. And when I look in through the fitting hole, it appears as if the tank is about half full, which means that the tubes that are used for the waste pump out and the pump out up on deck must have corroded. It has a hole in it, so when you try and suck out the waste, once that hole is exposed, it sucks air and it doesn't suck any waste. So before I start tearing all of this apart, which is going to be an absolutely awful job, particularly since I think the tank is half full, I scavenged through the yard and found a piece of foam, and I've taped it together. There's 2 pieces here, and I've snapped it off. The depth of the holding tank is about this. So I'm going to put this down there and read the depth of waste that is in the tank. And then of course I have to pull this out, and I have some trash bags handy here to encapsulate the disgustingness. But part of boat ownership, I guess, what you need to do. So I've got one bag here. There's one other bag behind the camera that I'm going to grab, because I definitely want to double bag this. You can see that I have gloves on. Set that there for a second. Got that open. And then I've got this one open as well. I'm going to set this here. I'm going to have a path basically of plastic from the hole to the bag. I'm going to kneel down here. I've got a flashlight so I can kind of see what's going on. come down at an angle. Oh, you know what? I think I'm wrong. It looks like the holding tank is not nearly as deep as I thought, because I'm hitting solid fiberglass. I'm going to break this off. I'm guessing you can't see exactly, but I've got this too long, and I want to get it a little bit sharper of an angle. So I'm just going to shut the flashlight off for a second. I'm going to break off this plastic, and then I'm going to see if I can put it at a sharper angle. You know, everything I feel is about as far as it's going to go. That was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to double bag this. Oh, that saved me a whole bunch of work, and I am super glad that I do not need to do that as a project. Normally when I do work on my boat, I try and follow best practices and really do a high quality job. On this particular job, I'm going to break some rules of mine and do a little bit lower quality of job and cut some corners. And so let me explain what I'm doing here. So this plate that has all these bolts on it, if I remove that, where both of these elbows are, there are tubes that go down into the waist. And the right way to install this pressure transducer that will measure the level of waste in the tank is to take that plate off, drill it out, feed the pressure sensor through the bottom, and have a gland that clamps down on it and makes it waterproof. I don't want to remove all those bolts and pull that out because it's going to be such a messy, horrible job. So, how am I cutting corners? I'm making a 90-degree angle here. That's going to fit in that hole right there. It'll be like this when it's in there. The waste will come in and go down. And then I'm going to use this fitting, which is just a reduction down, that I can drop the sending unit down through the center here, and then use this to close it off along with some caulk. So I'll show you how I do that, but that's the plan of what I'm going to do to get around having to take all those off. I know in the next year or two I'm going to have to take that all off and clean everything out, but in the yard we're in right now, they don't have a pump out facility, so I can't really do a great job of cleaning the tank before I do all this work. So most likely when we're in a marina, I will do it because I can have the pump out station and I can flush this with water over and over again until it's as clean as I can get it. Then I'll disassemble it. But for now, this is what I'm going to do. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now you can see the fitting is on, and I have access so I can drop down the sending unit. So I have this loose, and what I can do is I can take this and I can drop it down here, drop it into the waist, and I'm going to push it down so there's plenty of slack and that it's laying completely on the bottom. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this line through this hole and then seal that up. So I'll do that in a second. So there, how it looks right now. So this is going to be caulked in there, of course, and sealed up. But that's a way to get the waste in there and also get a reading. So now it's time to put in the 3/4 inch fitting for that. So I'm gonna go do that now. So now this 3/4 fitting is on, and I'm gonna move that hose to there. And I think I'm gonna have a second hose, so I'm gonna actually have 2 vent lines. There's no reason for me to plug that up it still works a little bit. It's just because of sharp 90-degree angle. But now you can see with the hose coming out of here, I'm going to have a nice smooth curve with the hose where it's not going to have a big restriction. So I think that's going to work better. So next step is doing the hose work. I'll be back in a minute. Here's the next level of update. So I have this new vent line to the new fitting. And you can see that I sealed up the top of this fitting with the line for the sending unit, and I used some JB Weld water weld. It's just a moldable mastic epoxy putty. So I did that to position it. I can still put some caulk on there, but I just wanted something that was a little bit stronger than caulk. And then I have my old vent line still active there. So the next thing is to put the hose on for the toilet and reassemble everything. So I'm getting close. So the platform's back in place. I'll zoom back out a little bit. It needs to be cleaned, obviously, and caulked and stuff. But so everything's in place down below, and just going to put a teeny bit of caulk on that top fitting, and then assemble everything. I'll be back in a minute. So here I am next to the toilet. It's all installed. I just have to do some cleanup and hook up the Maritron system to the sending unit that's in here, and then everything is completely done. But for this part of the project in the yard, I'm done with this. I can do the wiring at a different point, but while we're in the yard and I have convenient tools and everything available, I'm getting everything I can done in the shortest period of time. But for this project, this ends this video. Once again, I appreciate you subscribing, viewing, liking, and commenting. And so, until the next video, thanks again for viewing. See ya.